We are moving on to a new chapter, which is chapter 9, Geometric Shapes and Angles. And we're going to start off with topic 9.1, which is circles and circumference. So the learning goal is that I can find the circumference of a circle. Before we can actually jump in and start doing that and accomplishing our goal of finding circumference, we need to know the parts of a circle. And so we're going to start off with some vocab. So a circle is the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a point called the center. So this is the same, sorry, I don't know why that's not working. It's like I'm using my smartboard again. The same distance from the center. And so let's label that on here. So we have a point in the middle. This is our center. And then we have a couple of things. So whenever we draw a line, that's not a very good one because I'd miss it. So whenever we draw a line directly through the center, this whole thing is the diameter. So the diameter goes across the circle. It doesn't have to go sideways. It can literally go any direction as long as it cuts through that circle from side to side. So think like when you cut a pizza, you are going through the center of the circle, and so you are actually cutting it with its diameter. Then we have the part that goes from the center to the edge. And again, this doesn't have to be the way I draw it. So like literally any time we go from the center to the edge, that's what we call a radius. So this is the radius. And so now let's actually label it. So the blank is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So this was our radius. And then the diameter is the distance across the circle through the center. So something that's actually kind of nice to know, the radius is actually half of the diameter. And so now we're getting into radius and diameter. So the diameter, we use the letter D to, instead of having to write it out multiple times. So in any formula or equation that we use the letter D instead of the word diameter. So the diameter of a circle is twice the radius. So it's 2 of the radius. And that makes sense because we go 1 radius here, and then if I go from the center to this side, we know that that's another radius. A radii is actually what 1 radius or multiple radius are. And so it's twice the radius. So the diameter, well, I'll write it down here. The diameter equals 2 times the radius. The radius, r, is what we use to show radius of a circle is 1/2 of the diameter. So the radius equals the diameter divided by 2. So we need to know both of those things. So now we're going to practice finding the radius and the diameter. So the diameter of the circle is 20, find the radius. So we know that the radius, we're looking for the radius. So the radius equals the diameter divided by 2. So we have the radius equals 20 divided by 2, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So our diameter is 10 feet. Our radius is 10 feet. So now it says the radius of a circle is 7 meters, find the diameter. So we're looking for the diameter. So D equals 2 times the radius. So diameter equals 2 times 7. And we know that this is the radius because it goes from the center to the edge. And so 2 times 7 equals 14. So 14 meters is the diameter. So now you're going to give it a try, and then you're going to check your answers with mine. So the diameter of the circle is 16 centimeters. The radius is what we're looking for. So we're going to do radius equals the diameter divided by 2. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. So the radius is 8. The radius of the circle is 9 yards. For number 2, find the diameter. So the diameter equals 2 times r. And so 2 times 9 is 18. So we get d equals 18. All right, so now we have to go into circumference. So this is part of our learning goal today. So our learning goal is that I can find the circumference. And so to do this, we need to understand what the circumference is talking about. So the circumference is the distance around a circle. So the ratio of a circumference to the diameter is the same for every circle, and its value is represented by the Greek letter pi, which looks like that. No, that looks like this, and we call that pi. So that's how we pronounce it. Two approximations for the value pi are 3.14 or 22 over 7. So the thing about pi is pi goes on forever, and so it's a never-ending number, so it's 3.14, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. So we can't actually get the exact value of pi, but what we can figure out is if we round it and we use 3.14, it can give us a pretty close approximation to our answer. And then since 3.14, 15, and it goes on, like I said, forever, or pi, does go on forever, it cannot be written as a fraction, but the closest that we actually have gotten to it is 22 over 7. So 22 divided by 7 is the closest we can get to pi. And so because of that, we use 22 over 7. So the way that they actually realized this was they found the circumference, and when they took the circumference and the diameter and they made it into a ratio, they realized that it gave us this number that went on and on forever and ever and ever. And so that's how they found pi. But like I said, we're just going to use either 3.14 or 22 over 7. On your homework, if it says use 3.14, then use that. If it says use 22 over 7, you need to use that, or else it will give you the wrong answer. So the formula, there's two of them. We have the circumference, which we just use a c, equals the diameter times pi. Or we have the circumference equals 2 times radius, because 2 of the radius equals 1 diameter, times pi. All right, so now let's find, and those are also written. So let's find the circumference of this flying disc. And so step 1, use the formula. So we first need to decide which one we're going to use. So it looks like over here they gave us the radius because it's only half, like it's from the center to the edge. And so we have half of it. So we're going to do, so we can either do the diameter. So let's find the diameter. So diameter equals 2 times the radius. So 2 times 5 equals 10. So we can do 10 times pi, or we can just do 2 times 5 times pi. I would use this one just because that's what they gave you, and there's a little bit less work there. And then now we're going to multiply, and we are going to find the circumference. So 2 times 5 times pi, which they told us to use 3.14. So we're just going to do 2 times 5 times 3.14, and we get 31.4. So that is my circumference. So 31.4, and that was inches. All right, so you're going to give it a try. Oh, nope, we're going to do an example together. So let's try this one. So we have the circumference of the face of the watch, and they gave us the diameter this time. So we're going to use this equation because they gave us the diameter. And so we have 28 times pi. So we're going to do 28 times pi, but they told us to use 22 over 7. So since we're using a fraction, I'm going to put parentheses. And then we just multiply straight across. So we're going to do 28 times 22. So I get 616 divided by 7. I get 88. So my circumference is 88 millimeters. So not too difficult. All right, so now we're going to find a semicircle. And so the semicircle is a little bit difficult because this is half of a circle. And so to find the perimeter, this just means the circumference. And so to do this, they gave us the diameter. So this is the diameter. So we're going to use circumference equals diameter times pi. And so we have 6 times pi. And let's use 3.14 for this. So I have 6 times 3.14, which equals 6 times 3.14, oops, 6 times 3.14, I get 18.84, struggling, 18.84, but it was half of a circle, so I need to divide this by 2, divided by 2, not 22, and I get 9.48. But that only gave me this distance. It didn't give me this distance going across. So now I have to add 6 to it. So I get 15.48 for my answer. Oops. So now I want you to give it a try, and I want you to check your answers fine. For the first one, we had the diameter of 2, so my distance from here to here is 2. So we got the diameter, so diameter times pi, so 2 times 3.14, and I get 6.28, and then it's a half circle, so I need to divide it by 2, and so I get 3.14, so 3.14 is the distance from here to here. And then now I still need this little dotted section right here. So I have to add 2, and I get 5.14. On number 2, they gave us the radius. And so since they gave us the radius, we're going to do 2 times the radius, which is 30, times pi, which is 3.14. I'm going to divide that by 2, so I get 94.2 divided by 2. And that gives me 47.1. And then here's the catch. So 47.1 is the distance in green right here, but I still need this distance, which is 15, plus this distance, which is also 15. So we have to add 15 twice, and that gives us 77.1. And so I know we went through that kind of quickly, so if you need help, please email me. I'd love to help. Your homework is actually on Big Ideas. And so you're going to now go to Big Ideas and complete that homework.